Hello, thank you for joining us today. My name is Darren, Managing Director here at Roivon, formerly the head trainer. This is Charlie, one of the trainers here at Roivon.
Thank you, Darren. Hi guys. Yes, I am a IMDT assessed trainer and member. I base my training on positive reinforcement and force-free methods, which is actually what we're here to discuss today. Should we dive in, Darren?
Yes, definitely. The biggest question I have when answering the telephone to customers is their confusion of what methods are going to be used. We're going to talk more about in this video, but should we just clear up the jargon side of it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because trainers, there's two types of trainers. There's a balanced trainer and force-free trainers. We're force-free, but the balanced trainer will say they do positive reinforcement. Can you explain how that works?
Yeah, of course. So balanced trainers will tend to utilize both reinforcement and punishment. The thing with balanced trainers is you aren't necessarily going to be sure about how much punishment is actually going to be used. So they may act as though it's going to be a very small amount of punishment and mostly reinforcement, when actually they are using quite a lot of punishment in order to suppress behaviors rather than teach new ones. So a balanced trainer is likely to utilize punishment and tools, so things like prong collars, e-collars, choke chains, slip leads and slip collars. Whereas force-free trainers, we don't believe in using tools. We don't believe in using punishment or half methods in order to teach dogs things. We prefer to actually teach the dogs what we want them to do rather than just suppress behavior that we don't want.
And then reinforce all those good behaviors.
Absolutely.
That's good. So now that we've established that we only use positive reinforcement, do you mind explaining what that is?
Yeah, of course. So positive reinforcement is simply adding something that is going to increase the dog's behavior. So most people will assume that this is mostly just food, but absolutely it can be so many different things. It could be toys, it could be praise, it could be touch, it could be play with your dog, or it could be something external like allowing your dog to sniff or socialize with another dog.
Okay, that's great. I understand what that is, but do you mind breaking it down a bit further?
Yeah, of course. So positive reinforcement creates a confident and enthusiastic learner who is going to want to participate and engage with their owner. By reinforcing these behaviors that we like, we can teach our dogs what we want them to do in any given situation, which in turn prevent them from doing things that might be dangerous or something that we just simply don't want them to do. Training using positive reinforcement is meant to empower both the dog and the owner. It helps teach dogs how to make good decisions and creates a strong, long-lasting connection between the owner and their dog that is based on trust and mutual understanding, not threats of pain or fear.
Thank you, Charlie. I think it's very important that we explain why we do not use punishment here at all at Roivon.
Yes, so first of all, the use of punishment in dog training doesn't actually teach the dog what we want them to do. All it's really doing is suppressing the behaviour, and that means that we don't solve the underlying reason why the behaviour occurred in the first place.
Definitely.
The use of punishment has always got a risk of damaging fallout, which could cause confusion, conflict and mistrust in the relationship that we have with our dogs. And at the same time, it can even increase the likelihood of unwanted behaviours or even create more dangerous behaviours as the dog becomes more mistrustful. We believe as force-free trainers that we have the duty to teach our dogs what we want them to do and how we want them to behave, as well as taking into consideration their emotions and their welfare.
Now let's answer another common question, which is, do I need to use food forever when using positive reinforcement?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, it's yes and no. So it's true that to keep a learnt behaviour, we have to keep on reinforcing it a certain amount to ensure that the dog will continue to perform the behaviour. However, exactly the same thing can be said of punishment. It's very, very rare that you only need to punish a dog once for the behaviour, otherwise people will probably do it more. For that to work, the punishment is going to have to keep on coming, and it's probably going to have to get more severe in order for the dog to keep on complying with their owner.
But also in many situations as well, you start off using food, but then it can move on to praise or reward, other rewards.
Absolutely. That's what we talked about earlier, where there are obviously lots of different types of reinforcement we can use. It doesn't have to be related to just food. And definitely when we're first teaching our dogs, we're going to be using a lot more food, but we can fade that out fairly quickly. For me, the use of punishment just seems unethical and unfair on the dog. It causes far more stress and discomfort than is necessary. Personally, I'd much rather have food or a toy in my pocket than have to continuously punish my dog.
So at the end of the day, each owner has to make a decision. Are they happy for punishment to be used in their training? And if they are happy for levels of punishment to be used, then they would go to a balanced trainer. And if they didn't want punishment used at all, or threats of punishment, then they would go to a force-free trainer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. So another common question is, how do I stop my dog doing, such as being reactive to another dog?
Yes, so this is something that comes up a lot. So many owners will tend to turn to balance training or punishment-based methods if they are starting to get worried about what their dog is doing. So especially if that behavior is dangerous or it comes across as aggressive, a lot of people then become very nervous or embarrassed about their dog's behavior, and they feel like they have to take it to the next stage, that they have to introduce punishment in order to stop that behavior. So many balance trainers will kind of insist that force-free training is all about treats and unicorns and rainbows, and that we will just allow dogs to do whatever they want and there's no boundaries at all, which is absolutely not the case. Force-free trainers will still teach your dog boundaries and good manners. We will just do it without using intimidation or discomfort. So we believe that owners should be accountable for their own dogs. This means that we may have to manage behavior at some point so that they are a lot less likely to rehearse unwanted behaviors, whilst at the same time we're teaching our dogs what we actually want them to do instead. A lot of balance trainers will put this idea out that our dogs need to be accountable for themselves, but for me that just doesn't make sense. A dog is an immoral animal. It doesn't have right or wrong. We're the ones who create right or wrong. So we should be responsible for our dogs. We should be the ones teaching them what they should be doing, not telling them off because they're not following some rule that we have made up as humans.
And, we reinforce the behaviours that we want.
Absolutely, yeah. We don't need to punish behaviour if we're reinforcing the right things.
And then we get what we want.
Absolutely.
How about we show an example of how positive reinforcement works?
Yeah, that would be great. So let's introduce Storm, the German Shepherd. Storm originally came to Roivon for some typical teenage behaviours. She was starting to become a bit reactive towards other dogs as she was so excitable out and about. She was also jumping up a lot on her owners, and she was starting to mouth a lot, which is fine with a little puppy, but it starts to become a problem when you've got a 30 kg dog.
That sounds great. Let's go to the field.
So this is the lovely Storm. She's here with us on her second residential stay now, whilst her owners are away on holiday. She's had some massive improvements from her last stay, where she was particularly mouthy, lots of jumping up, lots of frustration-based behaviours, especially when we're doing calm behaviours. Whereas now she's a lot calmer, she's a lot more relaxed. She is finding it a lot less frustrating to be still, which is super. The main reasons that she's here for the programme this day is to just refresh some of that training and to help her in those moments where she still might get a little bit overexcited or a bit mouthy. That typically tends to be now just when the lead comes on. So when she's getting ready for a walk, again, this is obviously super typical behavior. Most of our dogs get excited when they're going out for a walk, but this can start to result in the jumping up and a bit of mouthing. She can be a little bit uncomfortable about being restrained or having her collar held when she's off lead in the park. Sometimes it can be difficult to get her back and pop the lead back on. So a lot of these problem behaviors actually stem back to the original balance trainer, who just thought that they could use punishment to stop the behavior, and what it did is actually just made her more stressed, more sensitive. We now need to fix this in a different way, which is actually teaching her what we want her to do in that moment, not just punishing her until she stops. So one of the first things we're going to go over is helping Storm become less sensitive to her collar being held. We can do this really, really easily through a simple exercise. So all I'm going to do, collar, is hold her collar, yes, and then I'm going to reward her. So she's learning that holding the collar is not us taking her away from something. It doesn't mean anything bad is going to happen. It just means that she gets something nice from us. Collar. Yes. Collar. Yes. Good girl. Collar. Yes. So before, Storm would have found that quite difficult. The likelihood is she would have mouthed me pretty much every single time I went for her collar, whereas there she's a lot more relaxed about it. I can hold it, I can move it around a little bit. And it's just a really good way to teach her that it isn't a bad thing when we go to touch her collar. It actually means something good's about to happen for her. So the next thing we're going to work on is teaching Storm how to be a little bit calmer when the lead goes on. So we can actually take a few steps back and literally make it really, really easy. I can show her the lead, click, and reward her. So I'm not even putting it on her straight away. We're literally just showing it to her, rewarding her. So she's learning, just because I see the lead, it doesn't necessarily mean anything exciting is going to happen. We can then start to practice putting her into the position that we want when we're going to put the lead on. So I've opted to do a down. She finds down quite easy. It helps relax her. It helps her bring her whole body down, so she's a lot less likely to jump up or to continue to mouth. Down. Good girl. So I can reward her first for just going into that down. We can then even go through the same sort of process. We can put the lead towards her and just reward her for that. So she's not mouthing at my hand. She's not jumping up. We can then get the collar ready. So you can even just move it first so it's in the right spot. And then while she's doing that, we can pop that on. So again, we're not just immediately jumping up and getting overexcited. She has to stay a little bit calm before we start our walk. Yes. Good girl. And this is how I will practice with her when we're starting our walks out and about as well. Or if I'm changing over to a long line, for example, I'll still make her go down. She still has to wait first, and then I will release her when we're ready to start. So interestingly, this is really relevant to what we were talking about earlier about positive reinforcement. So in this moment, the main element of the reinforcement isn't my treats. It is when the lead goes on and she gets to go out for her walk. That is the big part of the reinforcement. So what we're trying to teach Storm is that in order to get the thing that she really wants, i.e. she wants to get out on her walk, she needs to be a little bit calm first so that we can actually get that lead on and then get her out. So we've also been working on making it easier for Storm's owner to be able to put the lead back on while she's off the lead. One of the ways that we've been doing this is strengthening up her recall and also teaching her that the lead coming on doesn't necessarily mean that the fun is ending. So we'll demo that for you now. Storm, come. So we'll have a little bit of fun first. Get it? Storm, come. Good girl. Get it? Storm, come. Yes. Collar. Get it? So just because I've held her collar, it doesn't mean that I'm going to put the lead on. Good girl. Get it? Storm, come. Yeah, good girl. Catch. Oh, is it gone? Ready? Catch. Oh, good girl. Well done. We can then get the lead out. Storm, down. Good girl. Good job. And then we can continue with the fun. Yeah, good girl. Oh, ready? Nice. We've been practicing these exercises out and about in different places and in different scenarios where the behavior is likely to occur naturally. So we've been out in the park, out in the woods, practicing her recall, letting her off lead, practicing putting that lead back on and the fun not necessarily ending. We're making sure that whenever she comes out of her kennel, that she is going through that same motion of going into her down first, being nice and calm before the lead comes on, so that she's practicing this behavior in all different types of scenarios so that we can really strengthen it up and show her what we want her to do. As well as teaching Storm how to be calm in certain situations, we also need to appreciate that she's a young dog with a lot of energy, and part of her breed behavior is that grabbing, mouthing is fairly common. So we want to make sure that we are giving her plenty of outlets for her energy, that she has opportunities to perform these types of behaviors in a way that's appropriate, such as chasing and tugging a tug toy. By adding control onto our play, for example, getting her to sit or lay down or wait before she's released to the toy, this helps build emotional control and teaches her, again, that being calm or being able to listen even when she's excited is then going to give her access to what she actually wants. Alongside those exercises, we've also just been making sure to really reinforce those calm behaviours like down and stay. We've been doing this by practicing mat training, practicing a place cue, and doing this in different environments so Storm can learn that she doesn't have to be on her feet all the time. She can relax in different places. She doesn't have to always be going 100 miles an hour.
Thanks, Charlie. That was really good. So basically, as Charlie outlined, it's not about stopping your dog doing things. It's about encouraging them to do other behaviours and then reinforcing them with whatever suits the dog, whether that's food, play, movement, and all these other sort of lovely things that are much better than applying punishment. Hopefully this video has explained how we use force-free training here at Roivon. If you want to learn more about our training, please go to our website, which is www.roivon.co.uk.
Or head over to our social media and check out all the success stories and case studies that show all of our amazing dogs.
Thank you.
Thank you, bye.